one of the few characters in comics that doesn't like fan service. There's a whole bunch of Deadpools, but there's one in particular that's kind of like Deadpool, but not really at all. Deadpool at all. Kind of like a Gwen Stacy and Lady Deadpool fusion, but not really still. Kind of fused, mixed with Looney Tune type character logic. Character, a gag character. Characters I usually don't like to do on the channel. You're probably wondering, what is a gag character? A gag character is usually like those Bugs Bunny, SpongeBob type characters that the writers don't take too seriously. Anything they do is meant for comedic purposes, not meant to be taken too seriously. It's like a joke, really. Everything's a joke. Power levels in these universes are a joke. They're all over the place for the plot, episodicness. That's what gag is, basically. Oh, and believe it or not, she actually doesn't like Deadpool. Despite her being named Gwenpool, she doesn't read Deadpool comics. I mean, she's kind of relatable like the rest of us. She enjoyed reading The Immortal Hulk, for example, even thought it was great. Like, she may appear to be an alternate reality version of Gwen Stacy. She's not Gwen Stacy. She's not an alternate reality Gwen Stacy. But instead, she's just basically a comic book reader like the rest of us that actually became a comic book character in the comics. And she said, let me use comic book knowledge. I can get the benefits of being a comic book character if I make myself into a superhero. So she knows how the laws of physics kind of have some plot armor to them in comics, and that's why she basically became a Gwenpool. And there's no Sally Light. And she can do dangerous stuff and not die, apparently. But due to her being a goofy gag type character, you can't take the stuff she does too seriously. Like, her power levels will fluctuate depending on which universe she's in, for example. She can get a bloody nose, but then other times she can pull up to the Helllord, being known as Mephisto, a top tier cosmic hierarchical type being. She can hurt him with her kicks. They make beating up the devil Mephisto like a joke. Like, what? She can do that to Mephisto, but then other times she can't hurt Groot? Like, oh my goodness, gag characters, guys. I mean, Deadpool is a character that breaks the fourth wall, but Gwen takes it a bit further. Gwen can do this breaking the fourth wall stuff, like looking at the reader as well, but Gwen just takes it to a whole nother level when it comes to her power levels fluctuating and changing. Kind of like SpongeBob, on how he couldn't move a cup right here on some episode, but in other episodes he can karate fight with Sandy, a superpowered squirrel in this universe. Yeah, gag characters, guys. Like, one could say she's like a top tier reality warper at her best. She can literally make people aim horribly because her power, she believes she's the star and anyone who opposes her are reduced to clumsy mooks. I mean, she even said it herself when it comes to reality warping, that she has Scarlet Witch level reality manipulation. She can control anything that happens off panel. Because there are times where she will leave reality altogether. Gwen can go to this place like the gutter space, the place beyond the comic panels. So when she says she's a Scarlet Witch level reality manipulator, that might be underselling her. She can see beyond the fourth wall. She literally rewrote history to where Tony's last words was give a whole bunch of money to Gwenpool. Just to give you a visual I'm talking about, like, she's usually in the super soldier tier, but this can change to where she can become a powerhouse tier, even up there with the heavy hitter Skyfather Helllord beings like Mephisto and stuff. Yeah, she can literally change the cosmic being statuses. Like doing stuff like this to Mephisto, but also getting knocked out by a Spider-Man tier while he was holding back and it still knocked her out. So yeah, her power's gonna be all over the place in this video, guys. And then there's goofy times where her power level won't allow her to do a pull-up, saying she needs better upper body strength. Yeah, so her power would just be all over the place. The inconsistency stuff is actually a part of her character, guys. Like, I'm not making this stuff up as a joke. Like, that's not my opinion. Like, she literally says, it's occasions like this that in teen books, she can't do her fourth wall ability like she usually would do. So people think she's crazy when she's really not. Like, her power, one could say her reality warping and stuff is weakened in these teen books to make it more serious. They even bring up the inconsistency. Wait a minute, where's her powers? Where's your reality manipulation power? She doesn't have it in this particular story because it's for the plot. So her being inconsistency is literally a part of her lore. They even bring it up. You have to have powers. You've done some reality manipulation type stuff. So it just lets you know that it's a part of her lore for her powers to fluctuate. It's probably because if she was at her full power during these stories, she would just beat the bad guy and the story would be over and it would be a boring comic read, probably. She can't use those abilities right now, even though she was right. Thanks to this white space manipulation, it literally stated that I accidentally forfeit my white space when I retconned my origins to being a mutant with reality manipulating powers. Yeah, when her real origin was where she's from the real world. Even stated here that she may or may not have a new mutant ability. It's almost like she's limited to her own imagination. She has limits depending on which comic or story she's in, based on her own self or the universe she's in. If she's in a comic book that just got renewed, she can't die yet. She's a main character, so she won't age. She's forever 19. She pretty much explains that the comic book world doesn't move in real time, so she's 19, but characters age extremely slow in comics, so she's still 19. Breaking the fourth wall like Deadpool stuff. In a comic with Deadpool, strength-wise, her strength can vary. She can pretty much do any power you can think of, honestly, when it comes to reality, because she can literally reach above or out of the panels or universes. Ripping through reality, one could say she has teleportation because she can kind of cross vast distances like this. She can just reach a higher plane, one could say. I mean, just let these visuals speak for themselves. She can essentially, one can say, do some time travel type stuff, because if she leaves the comic panel, she can go back to her earlier previous comic, talk to her future self, older self. Like, this kind of stuff just gets ludicrous. Like, I'm talking about, she's so aware that she knows when there's different writers or different artists. In the middle of her comic, she will even say it. She notices things that's happening in reality that the other comic fictional characters don't notice. Like, he's like, what do you mean? She can literally see flashbacks, like basically reading your mind. Like, she can see a character's flashback. She can kind of see what the character's seeing. Like, really, she can literally teleport out of anybody's line of sight by leaving the comic panel. And they're having a ridiculously hard time looking for her, and she's just looking at them try to look for her. Speaking of time travel stuff, she can basically look into the future to see what's to come, like her evil future self. Yeah, since she's sort of like a Deadpool type character with vast differences, of course, she uses a lot of different weapons. She used a throwing knife, the classic Deadpool thing to do, using Blade. She even goes up against one of the best, like Blade. She takes the term magic satchel to a whole nother level. Like Gutter Space is like her little own personal space beyond space and time. She can just throw weapons in. As silly as it seems, she actually got fighting training. So in raw skills, one could say, I guess she got some kind of self-improvement because apparently her aim was awful. No, seriously, she literally got tested. Her aim was pretty awful. He says she's a natural. Her aim has gotten better. She's narrated as a weapons expert. Just a visual on all the stuff she can use. You see the bow and arrow over there in the corner, different guns, explosive. Every major weapon you can kind of think of. Rocket launcher. An all-in-one gun that can shoot lethal stuff or cream puffs. Her own pet shark. Anti-vampire gear, wooden katanas, neck brace, you name it. A shield generator that's got one use that allowed her to be able to have a Deus Ex Machina, an unstoppable force that allows her to withstand these blasts. Smoke grenades. Something that lets her hack into a sentinel. She just got miniature nukes lying around. Like, what? Weapons and stuff aside for now, how strong is her actual muscle? At times allow her to be able to lift all these bars of gold and throw it outside of everything. Yep. Like, you notice how she's throwing it outside of space and time, and he's looking like, where are you throwing them? They're disappearing. Notice how she can just throw beings so hard to knock beings out. All this heavy armor and gear, she can move around fighting, wearing all this mess with no problem. So even though her strength fluctuates, this can kind of give you an idea of how her strength does vary, being super soldier-esque or centric, or even weaker than super soldier level at time. A good example of Deadpool being a legit super soldier tier, and she's taking punches from him when the plot demands it. She can get hit by Deadpool and stay conscious, even though her strength level be going from under super soldier level sometimes to higher than super soldier level. Yeah, I would definitely say her power can definitely reach those levels where she could probably lift up a car via being a super soldier tier. And when it comes to how hard she can just hit in general, there's already implications of her superhumanness. We literally see her stick sharks, like a great white shark, away. This can give you an idea of her punching power. Like, this is the type of stuff she's doing without necessarily using no blades or nothing, like karate chops Hydra agents and knocks them out. One blow for each of y'all get knocked out with blunt hits. Kick, punch, night-night. We've seen her strike so hard she kills a scroll. Night-night. And locking the door on her won't necessarily keep her out. She'll just kick through them, bust them down with her kicking power, just strikes. Reed Richards is made of rubber. It seemed like a bite from her wouldn't hurt this much. So this also shows her superhumanness, one could say. With a blade, she can literally slice a gun in half. The same goes for mechanical legs. Her blades can cut through metal. This is a lot harder than you think. No head for you, robot. Frog creatures she can cut up. Even with blunt type objects, she can kill these type of creatures without necessarily relying on the bladed sharpness. Her sword slash did this much damage to Deadpool. Yeah, that deep of a wound. With a blade, y'all just all get one shot at. There was these frost giants that were the size of certain buildings, guys. With a blade, she can cut these type of beings and damage them. Due to her nature, I wouldn't be surprised if she could slice with over 100 tons of force. I mean, all she has to do is imagine herself real big, so just from sheer size, she should be able to easily level certain buildings, being building-sized, this large. She can literally do some giant man stuff, get as big as certain buildings, and level the whole city block if she wanted to. She's so fast that she can evade super soldier tiers like Captain America, somebody that can see faster than ordinary humans, or his brain processes images faster than ordinary human. I mean, she likes doing leg sweeps, even if you're Dr. Doom, Batroc, Deadpool himself, bigger beings like MODOK leg sweep, or she can kick so hard she can kick your eyeballs out. Yikes. All this speed, combat speed and stuff I already showed you. This mixed in with her fourth wall breaking, her probably knowing what you're going to do before you do it, mixed with her super soldier tier strength, also mixed with the fact that she got fighting skills. Is part of the reason why she doesn't necessarily need a weapon on this occasion. Like, you see these guys got weapons. She doesn't, and still treat them like actual jokes. Super soldier tier like characters like Batroc, even without no weapons, she blocks an attack from this guy more than once to show her fighting speeds up there with the super soldier tiers. Just a quick note that Marvel super soldier tiers like Daredevil, for example, just a quick example, they can notice nanosecond pauses, a billionth of a second, or even down to a millionth of a second microsecond type stuff. Like that's the type of stuff super soldier tiers can react to. Gwenpool being a super soldier tier should be in this level of speed too. Rocket considers her athletic. And guys, when I say super soldier tier, I don't necessarily mean beings with super soldier serum. You can be a super soldier tier in Marvel without super soldier serum, like Hawkeye's one of those type of beings. There's beings that actually consider her above beings like Hawkeye and Kate, you know, just to further back up that she should be as fast when it comes to combat speed as the super soldier tiers, saying she can do impressive stuff that humans cannot do, you know. In this particular situation, they're probably talking about her reality warping ability, but like the other super soldier tiers, she can react in a microsecond too. I think it's fair to say when it comes to brick walls, with bare fists with no sword, she should be able to do stuff like punching through brick walls. Super soldier tiers doing this kind of stuff is just kind of normal in Marvel. She should be able to do that by default when it comes to her muscle. When it comes to weapons, it should be worse. Or with a blade, her being able to strike this hard is totally believable. It doesn't matter what tier, even if you're a Hulk level being, thanks to her being able to like manipulate space and time and stuff, basically, she can literally throw you to another panel and give you major issues that way or throw you back in time via this gutter space. She can do strange stuff like create her own island to host a battle royal with different characters. Oh my, somebody stop this foolishness. This is a good example of how she can just change tiers via reality warping thanks to her being able to manipulate space and time or leave the comic panels. She can literally enter the Marvel's continuity abyss and search throughout the continuity itself. Like you can see what's going on. Like this is when Thor had his arm missing. Yep, Malekith. She says, give me that arm. Using Thor's former appendage, she can wield Mjolnir thanks to this technicality, which pretty much makes her a powerhouse tier like this, meaning she would easily be able to destroy planets, multiple planets, the solar system, the sun, etc., etc. Standard powerhouse stuff Marvel characters do, she can do. She wielded Mjolnir. I mean, what's her limit? She pulled herself from different points in history, different comic books, within this same continuity. It's literally just her in different points in comic books, all because she wanted to defeat the Hulk. Even if one of her dies, it doesn't mess up the continuity. One can argue she has unrealistically strong rocket launchers to be able to chip powerhouses like the Thing, or launch the Hulk thanks to the gag force that her rocket launcher has. Thanks to her manipulation of space and time via gutter space, couldn't she just grab any weapon in the history of Marvel? Like, couldn't she just randomly go in the time stream and just grab an Infinity Gauntlet and have like limitless power or something when it comes to gear? I mean, think about it. Couldn't she just get her own Infinity Gauntlet that way? Literally did some manipulation of reality to the point where she can future-proof herself to where she will not die. It's even talked about here to the Arthur, you can't control me, I will never die. Pretty much talking to the writers. One can argue any fictional character in Marvel, she could technically be above in theory if she's technically from the real world. Even without any weapons, I already showed this, but I'm showing it again. She literally can kick cosmic beings and make them sleepy. Like, make this make sense. At her peak power, this implies she could shatter or tremble the very fabric of the universe. Like, she got literal weapons like this that can do major damage to freaking Dormammu. Beings that can look down on space and time just like how she can, but in a different sense. She can literally summon the first rider up in the stories and stuff, like literal godlike beings from the real world. I mean, she got guns that can threaten beings like Dormammu or magic rocket launchers that can damage beings like Dormammu that are a threat for multiple universes. I'm just saying. Thanks to her gear. Yo, she got some gear. Implies she can take on Magneto too. She can straight up summon stuff to trap beings like she did to the Hulk in this particular situation with a power nullifier within it where the powers don't work. Like, she got this kind of stuff. One can argue she's an omniversal being because she literally exists outside the concept of all the different fictional characters. That includes beings like the Living Tribunal and the One Above All. At her peak, she might actually surpass the One Above All at her peak. I mean, think about it. If the Living Tribunal and the One Above All are omnipotent beings or close to omnipotent beings, they still exist in a fictional world. They can't affect us real people. But you telling me Gwen is technically transcending that stuff? For all we know, she could have a rocket launcher that can end all reality. But what do you guys think? Do you feel like none of this stuff should count because she's a gag character and is extremely inconsistent? I want to hear your thoughts below. Do you take this serious of her being a Scarlet Witch reality warper? But before I get going, everybody, Gwen is breaking the fourth wall and asking you to like the video for me right quick. Please do. And thanks for the donations, everybody. Respect Gwenpool. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.